In the grand tapestry of India's law enforcement, the term policeman conjures images of power, authority, and perhaps a touch of old school grit. But lurking behind this image is a tale of untold complexity, where the voices and stories of women in the force often get lost in the shuffle of tradition and stereotype. Welcome everyone to a conversation that promises to be as enlightening as it is empowering. Today, we are stepping into the world of policing through a different lens, one that's not just about brute force and tough exteriors, but about resilience, determination, and breaking barriers. And who better to guide us through this journey than someone who's not only walked the talk, but blazed the trail for generations to come. I'm Miloni Bhatt, and joining me today is none other than Dr. Kiran Bedi, a name synonymous with courage, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of justice. As the first woman to join the officer ranks of the Indian Police Service back in 1972, she is not just a pioneer, she is a force of nature. She is the winner of the President's Police Medal. The reforms she introduced in the prison sector as Inspector General in Delhi won her the Ramon Magsaysay Award in 1994. She is also the first Indian and the first woman appointed as the United Nations Police Advisor and head of the Police Division in 2003. She was also the Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry from 2016 to 2021. I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Kiran Bedi. Ma'am, it's a pleasure to have you here as part of the launch summit of ETPrime Women Leadership Awards 2024.
Thank you, Miloni. That was a long introduction.
But so richly deserved. And we're very excited to start this conversation with you. Ma'am, I want to talk, when you joined the Indian Police Service as the first woman in India to join the officer ranks, talk to us about some of the internal biases, the prejudices, perhaps misogyny that you might have faced in a very male-dominated bastion.
Well, I was like a museum piece in uniform. Though everywhere where I went and in uniform, people smiled. They didn't resist. There was a smile. And I think there was a dignified acceptance. There was not resistance. Indian culture respects women in position. So I think I benefited by my Indian culture. While it has one way of looking at women, but it has another way, a very respectful way of looking at women in position. And when I was seeing in uniform, I was like an attraction. And there was a cartoon, and I'm on duty in Goa Traffic Police, I remember. There was a cartoon in Goa media. So I still have retained that cartoon. You will love getting that. And they said, the cartoon says, it's not a riot. Policemen are using the sticks to move them away. And the cartoon says it's not a riot. They've all come to see her. So this is how the people were. I think it was like very dignified, respectful acceptance. But when it came to my peers and my own department, since being strongly masculine, I had a big question mark. They started to look at me as an intruder. So in my department, I was an intruder. Whereas for the people, I was like a welcome change, but they welcomed it for the sense that they've got a woman in uniform and that they didn't expect this woman in uniform to hit them hard, but probably take care of them and meet their needs. So I think this is the way it was. The department's reaction was different and people's reaction was different.
No, I mean, it would have been a tightrope walk, right? Because there's acceptance coming in from the people, but from within, maybe the change was, slow to come in or slow. That acceptance, as you pointed out, was grudgingly given. Given the persistent challenges faced by women in the Indian police force, there's high attrition rate. There's also underrepresentation in leadership role. From your vantage, what are the structural and systemic barriers that you think contribute to this disparity, and how do you see this as being addressed?
Look, I think since it's been a uh, I think men have not spoken out for the reason that they had family support while doing 24 by 7.
Right.
Men haven't spoken out. They haven't complained because they had either the mothers at home to run their family or homes, and or their wives at home. Wives. See, now you have spouses. Then you had wives. So you had a wife at home, a stay-home wife, and you also had a mother at home, right? So men could work 24 by 7, and they could go back home once in a while when the department permits them. Things have dramatically shifted.
Yeah.
Now, when you have the woman out of the home, and she's herself a police officer, herself, she's nobody at home. If she doesn't have a mother, she has nobody at home.
Right.
And if the mother-in-law is not cooperating, she's nobody at home. The man is anyway out at work, whether he's a cop or so. Therefore, for a woman in uniform, if she's a mother and children, she has nobody at home. Men did not complain because they had somebody at home. Women have now nobody at home. And if therefore, I think that's a question, big question mark, which the society will have to address. Now, in the armed forces, you have organizations like Army Wives Welfare Associations, etc. But it's predominantly men, and the women's organizations have looked after the families. But here we don't have police welfare major organizations which would now look at a woman who's in uniform and outside the home, who looks after her school, after school children. So when you talk of attrition, that's the answering which I'm giving. Men did not have the attrition because they had somebody to look at home. You will have attrition now when women join in, and now they have adolescent children heading for examinations, etc. Who is at home? So I think there's a big challenge, a challenge which is coming to society, which we've not addressed. That means you really need social systems. If you want women not to be leaving their jobs, which they are very willingly joining, and some very capable women are joining all ranks from the IPS down to the constabulary, very many brilliant women and masters, studies, technology, computers, very educated girls are coming in, very brilliant women are coming in. I think that's an area which is going to be addressed in the coming years, and that's going to be a major challenge, is when a woman also is in uniform and 24 by 7, and she's far away from home, she has a home. She has a home. And particularly if she's a mother, then what support systems does the department provide? Like we're looking at the corporate world to provide. Similarly, we'll have to address so some police officers have started to have playway schools for children, called the playway, the creches, as you can call. But they're not near home. So can she drop the child near home and then go to work? I think we are leaving her in a very stressful situation. Particularly, therefore, departments need to be conscious of the fact that who is she leaving at home? I do remember during COVID times when I was working in Pondicherry, I encountered, because everybody's leave was cancelled and everybody had to be on the street. And many women cops, and they could not go home for days and days. You needed everybody to on the streets. And how do their homes get managed? Or when they go back, how do they sanitize themselves again? But who's at home? But I remember a woman constable, what she was doing. She was cooking before she was leaving for work, making food for her mother-in-law before she was leaving for work, and did not know how would do the child, but she was leaving the old child with the mother, an aging mother-in-law. The man was also a police officer, and then rushing back after 12 hours of work again to go back and cook for the mother-in-law and look after the child, etc. I think this is distressing. So I think these are, You know what? Capability of a woman is not a question anymore. She's being equally trained. She's being given opportunities to work, and she has positions now to deliver. I think the real challenge is home front, which I don't think we still have policies in place.
Do you see a mindset change? Because this is a structural problem. This has to also be coming in at a policy level. But do you feel that there is an interest in this being addressed, or it's, they're managing and we can, live around it? There is a workaround. Whatever is happening, let it happen. What do you see?
Maybe it's the first generation of women who come in. By the time you come to the second generation, the first generation will have come into middle class. But the Indian culture still provides mothers-in-law at home, fortunately. But what happens to the those who don't? So I think you are looking at now individual families.
Right.
That means the department needs to have a conscious decision of understanding who is leaving what behind. And unfortunately, we don't have day schools. We have only half schools. The schools finish by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You don't have day boarding schools.
True.
You don't have the culture because it's working. It's so far met the need of a providing father where the mother is at home. Now you have a providing mother also and nobody's at home. So you don't have a day school.
Right.
So that where she has a day boarding and all the other activities of the child. So I think the children are suffering of the women cops the most, but it's a silent suffering. We need to identify that.
Right. And I want to sort of delve on this a little bit deeper. So the Women's Day 2024 theme is Inspire Inclusion. And considering the specific challenges, that have been documented in India's policing system and the challenges that you've spoken of, how do you envision recruiting and nurturing the next generation of female officers, because they are going to demand all of these things that you're pointing out? And what sort of infrastructural changes do you believe are necessary to support the success of these women?
Women are being recruited right. They're being recruited on merit. And a lot of NCC cadets, a lot of sports girls, a lot of outdoor activities, strong girls, strong-willed. These are women who are because no woman constable can be forced to say join the police. She has to want to join. So first of all, you've got the will. She's not joining for the sake of a job. She is not going to look at policing as a job. She's going to look at policing as a challenge, which is a sense of fulfillment for her. So I think the recruitment is on track. What you have to see is keep them in the board, keep them loving the job, keep them dedicated, not becoming divided and conflicting in their minds. How do they serve? Because this is a job which crosses time limits. You never know, and there are no time to keep. Sometimes you may certainly have working hours, but sometimes there is a crisis, and then the crisis can last for days and days. So I think that's an area. Recruitment is right. Keep up-training them, upskilling them, keep deploying them, keep getting the sense of fulfillment, keep the psychological well-being, keep connecting with them, keep doing one-on-one as welfare with them. That's the role of the senior leadership. Senior leadership will have to keep talking to them, chatting with them, non-hierarchically, and then mentoring and allowing a lot of networking and a lot of bonding. I think Delhi police has thousands of now women in the cops. I think they need to network. They should allow a network. They should allow bonding. The other day, at home in Delhi police, I came across these many young IPS officers. And I said, how many of you are there? They said, we quite a few now. I said, do you network? Do you meet each other? Do you meet over a lunch? Now that you are now 20, 30 plus women IPS officers in Delhi police, I said, now you're a good group. Do you have a lunch together once in a month at another's place? Do you network? Do you bond as a sisterhood? As a sisterhood? I think that's not yet stepped in. We should allow this kind of bonding where they can, so they are collaborative in nature, not competitive. We must not allow competition to come in. They will get their seniority, they'll get their ranks and promotions and posting. I said, don't compete with each other. Now, this is one thing, don't compete. Just let things happen. You give your best wherever you are, but you need to bond and you need to share and you need to talk to each other and need to bond, and there should be a sisterhood. And I said, why don't you have turn by turn a lunch or somewhere where you all meet and you talk to each other in confidence? Because you need networking now. You need their lounge. They could create their own lounge. You know, the IPS Women's Lounge or Gazetted Officers Lounge. So co-opt the ranked, those who've got gazetted ranks. So IPS group and the non who are entry group may get into the IPS one day. Bond them, bond with the next generation so that you cut across barriers. What has happened in male policing is very hierarchical.
Right.
Women must break those hierarchies and connect with each other, bond together. And so many thousands of them together in Delhi police is a very big number, rank and file. But at least few women officers also talked about the welfare measures of the rank and file because they should be looked up as mentors for them.
Right. Yes, they, become mentors for each other, sponsors for each other, and, a strong sisterhood, which, as you say, should be collaborative, rather than being competitive. I want to talk about prison reforms, reflecting on your pioneering efforts in reforming the Tihar prison complex and advocating dignity for prisoners, especially at a time when open prisons are being considered. Can you share any insights linked to this and how this can actually translate to contemporary prison reforms in India, which are doable?
You have a model. 1994, when I got the Ramon Magsaysay Award, it was a recognition of this model. It was a recognition of a 3C model, which we had evolved. Right. And 3C model meant collective, corrective, and community-based. Our prisons in 1994, that was it, collective. It was corrective, of course, but it was collective. What do you mean by collective? It was collective by NGOs. The prisoners became panchayats inside. It became a township management. Prisons became a municipality where everybody went to school. They learned skills training. They observed their self-regulating festivals, right? They had also spiritual programs going on. Collective, corrective, community-based. That is when the NGOs stepped in. See, we have a model. And the model is the 3C model, collective, corrective, community-based. If we follow this model, you have the answers. And you know what? It's a zero sum. It's zero cost to the government. Such a model is self-regulation. You have a community within. And they all have a skill to come. The only thing is they went wrong in their skill. But they all are coming with some hand skill. So if we could accentuate opportunities to upgrade their whatever skill they came with, particularly hand skill, and or art and craft, agriculture, manufacturing. Prisoners need not waste kill time of the prisoners. They can be put to work under trial or convicted, doesn't matter. Skills can be found in the many, many NGOs, and the government schemes itself is upskilling, which they have. They've brought in skills programs there. So I think we can bring a lot of dignity, and this way, they will not return to the prison again. We can check the revolving door by this 3C model. Practice collective, corrective, community-based. Create panchayats out of the prisoners. Provide education the way we did. Everybody went to school inside the prison with used school books. So no cost to the government. Teachers were prisoners, educated prisoners who were teachers. So we had teachers panchayats, which would be, books came from donation, came from publishers. We have a model. Miloni, we don't have to go to the West. We don't have to go to the West. Actually, West can look at the East. West can look at our 3C model, which they did at that time when the Magsaysay recognized this model. Unfortunately, what will have happened is we've taken bits and pieces out of it. Though the policies are intact. The government of India, by the Bureau of Police Research and Development, policies are intact. It's about the execution. Execution of more than 1,500 prisons in India. It's the execution. Collectively, the children's education inside the prison, playway schools inside the prison, women empowerment, women being upskilled while in prison. All this is achievable without government budgeting and can all be NGO driven. community-based driven, and you have skilled people inside the prison. You identify the skill. Don't ask them what offense, you know what offense they've committed, but ask them, what skill have you come with? What's your skill? Apply that skill and create small classrooms and get them employed, deployed.
So is
And
the
there'll
will
be even
missing?
corporate funding in it to come in.
Is the will missing to do it?
Yes, it can be. It's possible, and we have a model. It's not at all difficult. And it's so simple, and then it also creates, that concept which we brought in, the ashram concept, that when the heart started to be called an ashram, it was also bringing in meditation. So meditation programs inside, mindfulness, you may call it, or meditation, because that calms your mind, which is revengeful otherwise and angry. So I think we have solutions, and based on Indian culture.
All right. Now, this is now my last question to you. As someone who's broken barriers, paved the way for future female leaders in the Indian Police Service, what would you say would be your top learnings from your journey that you would possibly like to impart to Indian girls and women aspiring to leadership positions within the force, considering the evolving attitudes towards gender and marginalized identities over the decades?
Indian girls are coming a long way. They're aspirational, and the opportunities are coming in a big way as per the government schemes now. But you see, there are at different levels. There's a bottom level, there's an upper, lower middle, and the upper middle level. But opportunities of education and skills development and recruitment and on merit, I think, are enormous. The ball is in the court of parents and girls. How parents groom their girls and how the girls take benefit of the opportunities. I think ball is in the court of parents, which is homes, and then the girls. But remember, they will not getting anything unless it deserved and earned it. So now they have to remain aspirational, keep earning and deserving, and keep making yourself stronger. You're the woman yourself. Nobody's going to give it on your lap free because it's competitive world. So therefore, I would say, believe in yourself, keep aspiring, keep striving towards it, keep building on the opportunities, and make optimum utilize. Today, India is on the upskin and they're valuing the presence and the participation and equal contribution by this female gender.
The kind of barriers that women face just in getting out of the house, I think those barriers also need to be managed. So a good message also for the parents to let their girl child's dream, aspire and achieve. Dr. Kiran Bedi, what an honor and a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you very much for your time and for your thoughts today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Milad.
you. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.